The Carboniferous ended 299 million years ago. Good, because the air alone would kill you in under an hour. 35% oxygen. You breathe that in, and nothing feels wrong. That's the first problem. There's no warning. Your body doesn't know it's accumulating damage. With every breath it just keeps breathing, the way it always has, in air that is 67% richer in oxygen than the air you were built for. The second problem is the fire. And that's just the air. 7 things in the Carboniferous would kill you before you found shelter. We're going through every single one. The last one had nothing to do with a creature at all. Before we get to the creatures, there's something you need to understand about the Carboniferous. The air was wrong. Not metaphorically. Chemically, the oxygen level in the Carboniferous atmosphere reached 35%. Right now, the air around you is 20. The extra 14% doesn't sound like much until you know what happens to a human body when it breathes too much oxygen. It's called hyperoxia. Your body runs on oxygen the way an engine runs on fuel. The right amount keeps you going. Too much starts burning through things it shouldn't. 35% doesn't kill you in an hour. It does something slow. Oxidative stress builds in the tissue. Cellular damage accumulates. Every breath is slightly more than your body was designed to process. Days in, not hours, and you'd feel it in ways you couldn't name. But that's the long game. The short game is fire. At 35% atmospheric oxygen, fire burns 70% hotter and spreads twice as fast as anything you have ever seen. Lightning strikes, which were constant in the dense forest canopy, triggered fires that didn't go out. Not in hours, not in days. The fuel was endless, and the oxygen feeding every flame was 67% richer than what burns in any modern fire you have ever watched. The coal you find in the ground today, the coal that powered the Industrial Revolution, the coal that still heats houses in winter, that is the Carboniferous, compressed and carbonized over 300 million years. Every lump of coal is what remained after those fires. Fossilized remains of a world that was burning itself alive on air that was more oxygen than anything alive today was built for. You'd be dead before anything with legs found you. But they would find. That's the air. Now let's talk about what's walking through it. Picture a millipede. You have one in your mind. The ones you find under rocks a few centimeters long, a few dozen legs harmless. Now make it longer than you are tall. 2.7 meters. Longer than you are tall by almost a full meter. Each of its 30 body segments carried 2 legs, 60 legs, moving in a wave that crossed the ground smoothly, the way water moves, the way something moves when it has been moving this way for hundreds of millions of years, without ever needing to change. It left trackways 50 centimeters wide in Scottish Carboniferous rock. Those tracks are still there. Fossilized, preserved, undisturbed for 300 million years. You can look at them today. Arthropleura was real, and it was the largest land arthropod that has ever existed on this planet. It wasn't a predator. We know that from fossil analysis its mouthparts were designed for plant matter and forest debris, not meat. But that doesn't mean it's harmless. Something that is 2.7 meters long, 50 centimeters wide, 45 kilograms, and moving toward you at ground level is not a creature you walk past. You don't walk past it, you go around it. You wait for it to pass. You take the long way through the forest. Fossils of Arthropleura have been found in Nova Scotia, Canada, at the Joggins Fossil Cliffs, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, also in Scotland, also in France. It was not rare. It was not unusual. In the Carboniferous coal forests, Arthropleura was just something that lived there. The same way pigeons live in a modern city. Everywhere, unremarkable to everything else. Remarkable only to you, because you don't belong there. You're watching the ground for Arthropleura, That's a mistake. You should be watching the sky. The dragonfly is the most successful predator on Earth, not the shark, not the lion. The dragonfly with a 95% hunting success rate, compound eyes covering nearly the full sphere around its body, and a method of flight that doesn't chase prey so much as calculate where the prey will be and arrive there first. It has been doing this for over 300 million years. It was already flying when Arthropleura was walking. Now picture it large enough to cast a moving shadow across your face. Meganeura. Large enough that you'd hear it before you saw it, not a buzz, but something lower, denser. Wrong in the way that a sound is wrong when the thing making it is much bigger than expected. It wouldn't avoid you. Modern dragonflies don't avoid large animals, they hunt near them. A warm body at ground level, slightly panicked, is exactly the kind of disturbance that draws the prey Meganeura was tracking. It comes from above. It arrives before you understand what is happening. 95%. Those are not good odds to be on the wrong side of. You've survived the ground and the sky. The problem is the ground between the trees. The average modern scorpion is about 8 centimeters long. Small, recognizable, you know to check your shoes in the morning, to shake out your sleeping bag, to be aware of dark spaces under rocks. Pulmonoscorpius kirktonensis was 70 centimeters long. That's 8.5 times the size of the scorpion you know to be afraid of. It was fully terrestrial, unlike many ancient scorpions that were semi-aquatic. It breathed through book lungs. It was named Pulmonoscorpius, which means lung scorpion, because it had adapted completely to land. And it had adapted to 35% oxygen, which meant it had more energy than any scorpion alive today. It was found in East Kirkton, West Lothian, Scotland. The fossil beds there are one of the most significant Carboniferous sites in the world. Pulmonoscorpius wasn't a freak occurrence. It lived where the coal forests were densest. You wouldn't see it. 70 centimeters is big, but the Carboniferous forest floor was covered in debris-fallen lepidodendron logs, decaying club moss, layers of plant matter that built up over millions of years into the coal we now mine. Pulmonoscorpius hid in all of it. Under everything. You'd feel the sting. Then the neurotoxin. In a world with no hospitals, no antivenom, no one who knows what just happened to you, the scorpion sting is not the problem. The venom working on a body already under oxidative stress, already accumulating damage from 3 days of 35% oxygen, is. You're checking the debris on the forest floor now. Good. But consider this. The Carboniferous had a creature that scientists got completely wrong for 25 years. For 25 years, scientists believed the Carboniferous had a giant spider. They had a fossil. They studied it. They published their findings and named the animal. Megarachne cervini, the giant spider. Body the size of your face, legs spanning close to a meter. It was in the textbooks. Nobody questioned it. Then, in 2005, somebody looked closer. It wasn't a spider. It was a sea scorpion, a eurypterid. Reclassified, the giant spider erased from the record. But the 25 years is what matters. Not the mistakes scientists correct mistakes. That's the work. What matters is that the Carboniferous produced something strange enough that trained experts, people who had studied prehistoric animals their entire careers, looked at it and got it completely wrong. This is the part that doesn't make it into the facts section of any nature documentary. We don't know everything that lived here. The fossil record only captures what was large enough, hard enough, and fortunate enough to survive 300 million years of compression. Everything that was soft, small, or simply unlucky, we have nothing. No record. No idea. You would be walking through a world where the most complete picture we have, after centuries of paleontology, is still full of gaps the size of Arthropleura. Everything so far will eventually let you move. The next one won't. Because it controls something you cannot live without. You need water. You've been breathing 35% oxygen for days. The oxidative stress has been building since you arrived. Your hands won't stop trembling. You haven't eaten. There is no food in the Carboniferous you would recognize as safe. No fruit, no grass, no plants you know. But there's a river, 200 meters through the forest. You can hear it. Eryops megacephalus, 2 meters long, 90 kilograms. One of the first large terrestrial predators in Earth's history. Semi-aquatic ambush predator. And its skull was 60 centimeters wide, 1/3 of its entire body length, filled with bone-crushing jaw musculature and teeth designed for prey larger than what most modern ambush predators. Eryops fossils have been found in Wichita County, Texas, and across the American Southwest, in the sediment of every ancient water source in those regions. Because that's where Eryops was. At the water. Every river. Every pond. Every stream. The animal doesn't need to chase you. It waits. It has been waiting in shallow water, motionless, for as long as it takes, because that is what semi-aquatic ambush predators do. You can hear the river. You cannot get to it. Between you and the water is 90 kilograms of animal that hasn't eaten today, and it is patient in a way that you are not, in a way that you cannot afford to be. This is the one that ends you quietly, not with teeth, just by sitting between you and the only thing you need. You survived the water. Now the forest itself is the last thing on this list, and it's the worst one. You see the smoke before anything else. Not a lot. A thin column, 2 kilometers away, rising above the canopy of lepidodendron trees that stand 30 meters tall and are packed so densely that the sky is barely visible between them. A lightning strike, common in the Carboniferous. The forest generates its own weather. The fire is nothing at first. Then the oxygen hits it. At 35% atmospheric oxygen, fire doesn't burn the way you know fire. It burns 70% hotter. It spreads twice as fast. Modern wildfires move at up to 15 kilometers per hour in favorable conditions. A Carboniferous fire in a Carboniferous forest with 35% oxygen in trees built from a type of linen-rich wood that barely decays because nothing in this era has evolved to break it down yet that fire does not stop. There is nowhere to go. The forest is everything. There are no clearings large enough to matter, no rivers wide enough to stop it. No modern fire management in a world that has never needed it. The lepidodendron trees go up like torches, hollow centers, waxy bark, 30 meters of vertical fuel. You know what happened to those trees? They fell. They burned. They compressed. Over 300 million years, they became the coal seams underneath Europe and North America and China. The coal that powered the Industrial Revolution. The coal that still gets burned in power stations today. The Carboniferous is not over. It's in the ground under your feet, and it's in the air every time a coal-fired plant runs. This is what killed the Carboniferous. Eventually, not a meteor, not a predator, but a shift in oxygen levels that slowly dried the forests, sparked more fires, and collapsed the coal swamps. The Carboniferous rainforest collapse, 305 million years ago, ended the era of giant insects. The oxygen dropped, the forests fragmented, and everything that had been built for 35% oxygen, Arthropleura, Meganeura, Pulmonoscorpius, everything on this list went extinct. The air that was killing you was also the only reason any of them existed. 7 things that would kill you in the Carboniferous. One of them was the air. One of them was a fire you couldn't outrun. The rest were animals not the largest in Earth's history, not the fastest, just the ones that were built for a world 67% richer in oxygen than the one you were born into. The Carboniferous ended 299 million years ago. The creatures on this list went with it. The coal they left behind is still being burned today. If this era is something you want to go deeper on the full breakdown of the Carboniferous rainforest collapse, what killed it, and what came after that, is in the next video. Link in the description. Every era, from Carboniferous to the one that finally produced humans. We're going through all of them. Subscribe if that's a journey you want to take. The further back you go, the worse it gets.